Welcome students to Nelson's English School online education program, Standard 7, subject Social Science.
Welcome students. Let's start chapter 7, Tribes, Nomads and Settled Communities from History. In this chapter we will study about disparities in society, tribal societies, different tribes, about nomads, Ahoms and the Gonds. As the rise and fall of various kingdoms was happening, new arts, crafts and production activities flourished in towns and villages. There were changes in the economical, political and social scenario over the centuries. But the changes in the social aspects were not the same everywhere. This is because different societies evolved differently. First, let's study about disparity into society. Already the society was divided according to the rules of Varna in large parts of the subcontinent. These rules were prescribed by the Brahmanas and accepted by the rulers of large kingdoms. The gap between the high and low, rich and poor widened. This hierarchy between social classes grew further under the Delhi Sultans and the Mughals. Now let's study about tribes. The social rules and rituals prescribed by the Brahmanas were not followed by many societies. These societies were not divided into numerous unequal classes. We call such societies tribes. Members of each tribe had kinship bonds amongst them. Now the occupation of tribes. Some of the tribes were engaged in agriculture for their livelihood. Others were hunter-gatherers or herders. Since agriculture was seasonal in nature, they made maximum use of the natural resources by often combining both these. Some tribes were nomadic, for example, they were not settled at a place. A tribal group controlled land and pasture jointly, which were divided among household according to its rules. Many large tribes which thrived in different parts of the subcontinent usually lived in forest, hills, desert and places which were inaccessible. Sometimes the tribes clashed with the more powerful caste-based societies. They retained their freedom in many ways and preserved their separate culture. Now, next is interdependence between societies. Though sometimes there were conflicts between the caste-based societies and tribal societies, they were dependent on each other for diverse needs. These dependents played a vital role in changing both the societies. Now, who are tribes? Very scanty information can be obtained about the tribes from contemporary historians and travelers. This is because tribal people did not keep written records. Barring a few exceptions, they preserved their customs and oral traditions which were passed on from generation to generation. Tribal histories written by present-day historians are based on oral traditions. Now the next is spread of tribes. Almost in every region of the subcontinent we can find tribal people. At different times, the area and influence of a tribe varied. Some powerful tribes had control over large territories. In Punjab during the 13th and the 14th centuries, the Khokhar tribe was very influential. Later, the Gakhars gained more importance than them. The chief Kamal Khan Gakhar was made a noble Mansabdar by Akbar. In Multan and Sindh, the Langhas and Arguns dominated extensive regions before they were subdued the Mughals. The Balochis were another large and powerful tribe in the northwest region. They were divided into several smaller groups called clans. Each clan was under a different chief. In the western Himalayas lived the shepherd tribe of Gadis. The northeastern India was dominated by tribes
the Nagas, Ahoms, and many others. In present-day Bihar and Jharkhand, Cheros chiefdoms had emerged by the 12th century. They were attacked and defeated by Raja Man Singh, Akbar's famous general, in 1591. Though large amount of booty was taken from them, they were not fully subdued by him. But the Mughal forces under Aurangzeb captured many Chero fortresses and they were ultimately subjugated. In Orissa and Bengal, the Mundas and Santals were the other important tribes. The Maharashtra highlands and Karnataka were home to Kolis. Further south of Gujarat, there were large tribal populations of Koragas, Vetars, Maravars, and many others. The large tribe of Bhils was spread across western and central India. The Gonds were found in great numbers across the present-day Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, and Andhra Pradesh. Now, how nomads and mobile people lived. By the late 16th century, many tribes had become settled agriculturists and some even zamindars. Nevertheless, many Bhil clans remained hunter-gatherers. Nomadic pastoralists moved over great distances with their animals. They survived on milk and other pastoral products. They exchanged wool, ghee, etc. with settled agriculturists in return for grain, cloth, utensils, and other products. They bought and sold these goods as they wandered from one place to another, transporting them on their animals. For example, Banjaras. The most important trader nomads were the Banjaras. Their caravan was known as Tanda. Sultan Alauddin Khilji used the Banjaras for transporting grain to the city markets. The memories of Jahangir reveal that the Banjaras carried grain on their bullocks from different areas and sold it in towns. During Mughal campaigns, they transported food grains. When the campaign had large armies, the number of bullocks carrying grains could be as 10,000. Many pastoral tribes reared and sold animals like horses and cattle to the prosperous people. Different caste and petty peddlers who traveled from village to village made and sold wares such as ropes, reeds, straw matting, etc. At times, mendicants act as wandering merchants. There were caste of entertainers who performed in various towns and villages for earning their bread and butter. Now, changing society. The demand for people with new skills close with the growth in the economy and with increased needs of the society. Varnas were further divided into smaller castes or jatis. For example, amongst the Brahmanas, new caste appeared. On the other hand, many tribes and social groups were taken into caste-based societies and were given the status of jatis. Brahmanas recognized specialized artisans, which consist of smiths, carpenters, and masons, as separate jatis. Jatis rather than varna became the basis of organizing society. By the 11th and 12th centuries, a new Rajput clans amongst the Kshatriyas became powerful. They belonged to different lineages like Hunas, Chandelas, Chalukyas, and others. Some of these lineages too were tribes before. Many of these clans came to be considered as Rajputs, especially in agricultural areas. They replaced the older rulers over a period of time. These were the beginning of the emergence of developed society, and rulers created powerful states by using their wealth. Now the next is tribal people. The rise of Rajput clans to the position of rulers set an example for the tribal people to follow. Many tribes became part of the caste system with the support of the Brahmanas, but the ruling class comprised of only the leading tribal families. Others, who were a large majority, joined the lower jatis and caste society. Many dominant tribes of the origins of Punjab, Sindh and northwest frontier had adopted Islam quite early. They did not accept the caste system and the unequal social order prescribed by the orthodox Hinduism. Now the emergence of states and impact. The emergence of state had a deep and direct relation with the social changes amongst the tribal people. For example, the Gonds. The Gonds lived in Gondwana, which was a large forested region. The name Gondwana means country inhabited by Gonds. The kind of agriculture practiced by them was called shifting cultivation. The Gond tribe was further divided into many smaller clans. Each clan had its own Raja or Rai. During the period when the Delhi Sultans were facing a decline in power, a few large Gond kingdoms were beginning to dominate the smaller Gond chiefs. The history of Akbar's reign, called Akbarnama, mentions the Gond kingdom, Garha Katanga, that had 70,000 villages. Now let's study about the administration. The administration system of these kingdoms was becoming centralized in nature. The kingdom was divided into Garhas. A particular Gond clan controlled each Garha. This was further divided into units of 84 villages known as Chaurasi. The Chaurasi was subdivided into Barots. Barots were made up of 12 villages each. The emergence of large states led to changes in the nature of Gond society. The society, which earlier had equality in it, gradually got divided into unequal social classes. The Gond Rajas gave land grants to Brahmanas. The Brahmanas hence became more influential. Now the Gond chiefs wished to be recognized as Rajputs. Hence, Amandas, the Gond Raja of Garha, Katanga, assumed the title of Sangram Shah Dalpat. His son married Princess Durgavati, the daughter of Salbahan, the Chandel Rajput Raja of Mahoba. Dalpat died early. Now let's study about Rani Durgavati. She was very capable and started ruling on behalf of her son Bir Narayan, who was 5 years of age. The kingdom became even more extensive under her. The Mughal forces under Asaf Khan in 1565 attacked Garha Katanga. She resisted strongly but was defeated. She preferred death instead of surrender. Even her son died fighting soon after. Garha Katanga was a rich state. It earned much wealth by trapping and exporting wild elephants to other kingdoms. A huge booty of precious coins and elephants was captured by the Mughals when they defeated the Gonds. They annexed part of the kingdom and gave the rest to Chandera Shah, who was Bir Narayan's uncle. The Gond kingdom survived for some time in spite of the fall of Garha Katanga. They, however, became weaker and later failed in their struggle against the stronger Bundelas and Marathas. Now the next is Ahoms. They migrated from the present-day Myanmar to the Brahmaputra Valley in the 13th century. They suppressed the older political system of the Bhuyans, means landlords, and created a new states. They annexed the following kingdoms and subjugated many other tribes during the 16th century. Chutias in 1523, Koch Hajo in 1581. They built large states using firearms as early as the 1530s. They could even make high quality gunpowder and cannons by the 1660s. In the southwest, they faced many invasions. In 1552, under Mir Jumla, the Mughals attacked the kingdom. The Ahoms were defeated despite their strong defense. However, the Mughals could not have direct control over them for a long time. The Ahom state depended on forced labor. The people who were forced to work were called pikes. Each village had to send a certain numbers of pikes by rotation based on the census taken. People were shifted from highly populated areas to less populated areas, thus breaking the clan. The administration became quite centralized by the first half of the 17th century. During war, almost all adults males served in the army. They were engaged in the different activities at other times, like building dams and irrigation system and other public works. They also introduced new methods of rice cultivation. The Ahom society was divided into clans or khilj. The artisans community had very few castes. Hence, artisans in the Ahom areas came from adjoining kingdoms. A khel often controlled many villages. The peasant was given land by his village community, which could not be taken away even by the king without the community's consent. The Ahom society was quite sophisticated. Theatre was encouraged, poets and scholars were given land grants. Important works in Sanskrit were translated into local language. Even historical works were written. These were written first in the Ahom language and then Assamese. These were known as Burunjis. The Ahoms originally worshipped their own tribal gods. There was an increase in the influence of Brahmanas in the first half of the 17th century. The king granted land to the temples and Brahmanas. In the reign of Sib Singh from 1741 to 1744, the predominant religion was Hinduism. But even after adopting the religion, the Ahom kings did not totally give up their traditional beliefs. Now the changes in society. During the period that we have been examining, there were a lot of social changes. Varna-based society and tribal people interacted constantly with each other. These caused both the societies to adapt and change. There were a variety of tribes and they were engaged in diverse occupations. Many of them over a period of time merged with the caste-based society. There were, however, some tribes who rejected both the caste system and Orthodox Hinduism. Some tribes also organized extensive states and introduced a well-organized system of administration in them. Hence, gaining political power. These led to conflicts between them and the larger and complex kingdoms and empires. So, students, here we have completed our all the topics from this chapter. With this, have a nice day. Thank you.